Hello? Is anyone there?
Hi. Hi. What a day to be alive.
It is. Wow. It's a great day.
ASMR. Oh, God. I don't really like ASMR.
No, I don't get it. I don't get it because I don't like the sound of people like breathing.
Yeah.
And I don't like the sound of people chewing. Like, I don't like those sounds. Like, I don't like human sounds.
Welcome to Astoria.
Where we, listen to humans make noises. But we get to make noise. We get to talk.
Yay, I'm Jamie.
I'm Kylie.
And today is...
Oh my God, I'm so excited. It's spooky season, guys.
It is spooky season.
Name a better time of year.
I've been feeling extra spooky. I'm excited to decorate my workspace.
Yeah, and by the time you guys hear this, we're like already mid-October, which is crazy.
Yes, watch some Hocus Pocus.
It is Saturday, September 25th right now.
I'm still feeling spooky season.
Me too. I've been like, ever since the first day of September, I was like, let's decorate.
I need to watch, I think my goal for October this year, my sister Erica, who was on a couple weeks ago, said that we are going to watch every single Harry Potter film.
Oh boy.
Because there's 7 of them. No, there's 8 of them.
Have you seen them all?
No.
I've seen the first one.
I went and saw the part 1, I think. Maybe I saw part 2 of the Deathly Hallows with Erica, my sister.
They know. I'm just kidding. I just don't get into it. Like, I've tried, and I think it's one of my, like, personality traits. Like, I haven't seen all the Harry Potters. Because then everyone's like, what? And I kind of like that reaction. So I think I'm going to keep it to where I will never watch them.
Dude, I want to get around to, though, like, Lord of the Rings.
Oh, God, no. I can't get into those.
Well, they're, like, 3 hours long, and I can't do that.
So boring.
And then, I haven't watched any of the Star Wars all the way through.
Okay, now that's something you need to watch. Lord of the Rings, no. Star Wars, yes.
I won't do the prequels, though.
Go do all of them.
No, my mom talks mad trash about them.
Oh, my God. I love all of the movies. They're so good. Anyway,
I watched one scene.
I like that. I like Star Wars, but I don't like Harry Potter. I'm like, Harry Potter. I watched the first movie and then I was like,
so you like sci-fi more than fantasy?
I'm not even a sci-fi person that much, but I do like it more than fantasy.
I don't like science fiction.
Okay, it depends on the movie for me. Like,
yeah,
there are some fantasy that I like, but
I like Guardians of the Galaxy.
I love that movie. That's like my favorite Marvel movie. Really? Yeah.
Mine, I know it's so generic, but I really do love Captain America because Peggy Carter is my soulmate.
It's such a good movie, yeah. That's fair.
Peggy Carter so much.
Fair. All right. Well, anyway, guys.
What are we talking about today?
I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. Oh my God. We're talking about like the Salem Witch Trials and I'm so excited. I hope to be there in like a year. Like next October, Massachusetts, we're going.
Dude, I want to go there so bad. I was supposed to with James because we were going to do a whole Maine trip in like Boston and Cape Cod. Yeah. We were going to do this whole romantic trip. But then he's not a planner. And then he kept putting off like dates. And then, surprise, surprise, military was like, oh, you have this 1.5 long class. Oh. So we had to do something closer. So we're going to Yellowstone instead.
It'll still be fun.
Yeah.
I will go to Salem one day, and it will be in October. I'm not going any other time of year.
You better dress as, like...
I'll dress as a witch.
All of the Hocus Pocus witches.
Oh my God, yes. All of them at once.
All of them. You just do, like, half.
Oh, I watched Hocus Pocus last night. I watch it, like, 4 times a year. It's my favorite. I love it so much.
It is great.
So good. And I even have socks. Hocus Pocus socks. One of them says, Binks is my spirit animal. And the other ones, it says, tonight we fly. And it's all their broomsticks. I
think Hocus Pocus this year is, like, a huge focal selling gimmick this year. Like, everything... This year? Yeah, everything is Hocus Pocus theme.
Really?
Or Beetlejuice. Like, in decorations and stuff like that.
Oh, I need to get more stuff.
Because, like, if you go to friggin' TJ Maxx, Home Goods... They got a shit ton of stuff like that.
Oh my God, I want to go.
Ross has some stuff. I don't know what Kirkland's does.
I haven't been to TJ Maxx in so long. I need to go.
Honestly, on my Instagram feed, like the little search like interest things that like my interest view is like all fall stuff right now.
That's fair.
And there's so much like Halloween stuff. I'm so jealous. Erica got the Mickey cookie jar.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I Snapchatted her and was like, where'd you get this? I need it.
Yeah, she said she got it at Kohl's. No, it wasn't Kohl's. It was TJ Maxx, and it was the last good one. Because the other one had, like, a chip in it.
Oh, my God. I need to go shopping.
So.
Anyway. Hi, guys.
Can you see that we're obsessed with decoration?
Oh, I love Halloween. It's where I come alive. Everyone's like, Christmas time, my favorite time of year. And I'm like, Halloween.
I just love the fall.
I just love a good holiday. Like, I like celebrating holidays, but except for Thanksgiving and I guess the only holidays I really like are like Halloween, Christmas, and New Year's and 4th of July.
Oh, New Year's is a fun time.
Yeah, and 4th of July, but like everything else I'm like, meh.
Meh.
Okay, anyway. Okay, so we're gonna jump into the Salem Witch Trials.
So exciting.
I like forced myself to stop researching because I just wanted to keep going.
There's so much. I should have given you my books. I have a shit ton of them.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna start with the history of witches.
Heck yeah.
Because where did they come from? That's the question. Okay, so the history of witches actually came from folklore. So there is a lot of folklore related to witches that has been around forever. Like literally, like I couldn't even figure out where it all started. It's just always been around that we have these witches on brooms and they fly in the night sky. Like it's always been there. Witches have been blamed for everything. So like if livestock died or like just was not growing correctly, it was the witch's fault. If a family member got sick or died, it's the witch's fault. If somebody like experienced any type of misfortune or like bad luck, they believe that a witch caused it.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like just blame everything on a witch. Why not? Okay. So a lot of in the European traditions, witches were usually unmarried. So it's been a lot of like widows,
spinsters.
Yeah. They're usually middle-aged. And when we say middle-aged, thinking about like where like when folklore started, obviously our lifespan wasn't that long. So middle-aged is like 20s. Yeah. We're talking about like 20-year-olds, which is crazy because like I think of witches and I think of like 70-year-old women.
Yeah.
You know, like, but at the beginning it was like 20, 30-year-olds. And they all were known to be women. Okay, now they all aren't, but they all were known to be at the beginning.
The warlocks.
Yeah. So they believe that a witch received her powers by signing a pact with the devil. The devil would seal the pact by leaving marks on the woman's body. So this could look like a mole, a scar, or a birthmark, usually. And so that will come in handy later. But many believe that a mark would be the easiest way to figure out if they're a witch or not. So they're like, well, we know that the devil would have had to mark them. So that means that we'll be able to tell by looking at their body and figuring out if they have any of those marks. So when women were accused of being witches, because literally they were just going around and pointing at people, and I'm talking way before the trials, by the way, like I'm still in like the 1500s.
Yeah.
But they would like point at people and be like, you're probably a witch. And you're like, what? I didn't do anything.
Well, that's how they would get rid of their wives too.
Right. And so when women were accused, of course, their body would be inspected. They'd look for those marks. And with witches as well, they always traveled with something called a familiar. And this was usually a demon who would do the bidding for her. So the familiar would take on forms of what we know, black cats. That's one of the biggest ones. But it's also been seen in like goats and cows. So when people see like a random goat or a random cow, they believe that a witch would be in sight.
Did you ever watch The Witch?
The Witch?
On Netflix?
No.
Dude, it's freaking wild.
I need to. I'll watch it.
It's spooky.
But usually what we know of is the black cat. And so if you see like a black cat at night, you know, it's like it's supposed to be bad luck or whatever.
They're good luck. They're cute.
Good luck. I don't know.
Well, they saw them as like,
Yeah. Now it's good luck because they're just cute. Anyway. But yeah, so if you saw any of those animals, it'd be a method of being able to find a witch, because they know that the witch would be in sight. Now, once they had a possible witch who was identified, so they're like, we think this might be a witch, but we don't know for sure. They had to do a couple of different tests to find the identity. So one of the tests was literally taking the woman and pushing her off a cliff. If she flew, she's a witch. If she died, she's not a witch. So it's kind of like, okay, so imagine not being a witch and just knowing like, well, I'm about to die. Here we go.
Have you ever watched Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Yes. Love it.
There is a scene with the witch where they're like, she's a witch, and they're like, and then the dude's like, well, did you see if she is? And they put her on a scale with a duck, and it's just like, then it evens out, and they're like, she is a witch, and she's like, oh shit.
That's how I imagine this going. Like, they're like, we're gonna push you off a cliff, and she's like, shit, I gotta fly.
Yeah.
Dang it, they're gonna know my identity. And then if you're not a witch, you're just like, goodbye world. It's been fun. And then another test was dunking a witch. It was called dunking the witch. And you're basically tied to a chair while water is pouring on your face, and you're underwater for a while, very long time. If you survived, you were a witch, and if you did not, you drowned to death.
Oh my god.
So
it's like, but the question is like, would I rather be drowned or burned at the stake?
Yeah, that's fair. That's where I was going next.
Oh.
But it's kind of one of those things where you're like, I'm gonna die either way.
Yeah.
Like, once you're accused, you're screwed.
Honestly.
That's just how it is. And so in the 1500s, there was a book known as Malleus Maleficarum. I didn't even write a letter there. Maleficarum, I think is what I wrote. That sounds right. And it was a guidebook to instruct readers how to identify and how to punish witches.
Oh, God.
So it was like the big craze. Like, oh my God, you guys, like, check out for this. Like, if you see a black cat, that means this. If you think it's a witch, push her off a cliff. Like, just giving them, like, the ideas of what to do. And so if somebody was found guilty for being a witch, so like if the test worked, then of course they would usually be burned at the stake, as Jamie mentioned. And throughout the years of 1400s to the 1700s, there were over 50,000 people who were executed from being burned at the stake.
Awful.
They literally tie you to a stake and set you on fire.
Yeah, it is.
So fun.
Not pretty.
Love that.
Love that.
Good times. Okay, back to my other part. I like my fancy,
Salem.
Okay. What?
I got my license plates.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
That's so... I thought it was going to be something more exciting.
No.
I mean, I know it's exciting, but okay. Anyway. So, now that was like the introduction of witches. So this was before the trials. Now I'm going to be jumping into the trials. Okay. So they begin in the spring of 1692, which was February. So I guess it's like winter, spring, whatever. Depends where you live. So it was about a year long altogether. And how it began was we had a group of young girls in what was known as Salem Village, Massachusetts. And they claimed to be possessed by the devil. So they also accused other local women of witchcraft. So not only were they accused, but they also were like, we're not the only ones. Yeah. These people too. And so I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit. But at this time, many people were practicing Christianity and other religions. And so they had really strong beliefs in the devil, and that the devil could give certain people known as witches the power to harm others in return for their loyalty.
A lot of Protestants too.
Yeah. They truly believe that this was a big old thing and the devil's giving power to all these people. Yeah. All that fun stuff. So the witchcraft craze all over Europe, I kind of talked a little bit about it, but it started from the 1300s. This is when like witches began, and it went until the end of the 1600s. So pretty long. Yep. And through that time, tens of thousands of witches, mostly women, were executed. But again, not all women. There were some men. So in 1689, this was right before the trials, English rulers started a war with France in American colonies. And this was known as King William's War.
Oh, that one is savage.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, but...
Dude, I gotta cover it. It's wild.
Yes. during this, they ravaged areas of New York, Nova Scotia, and Quebec. And this sent a bunch of refugees to Essex County, and Salem Village in Massachusetts. Now, Salem Village today is actually Danvers, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And then Salem Town is modern-day Salem. So actually, most of the people came from what is now known as Danvers.
Yeah, so they kind of just separated.
Right, but it was like right next to it, just in a different county. Now, Salem had too many people because people were going there.
Yeah.
And when I'm saying Salem, I'm talking about Salem Village, but I'm calling it Salem. Okay. Anyway, they had too many people because a lot of people were wanting to come there, and so they were starting to run out of their resources. Many people who depended on agriculture were very angry about this. There's a huge controversy with Reverend Samuel Parris, and this was known to be Salem Village's first ordained minister.
Oh.
So he's a pretty big name, and I'll talk about him a lot during today, but he was the minister, and so he made a lot of decisions for the town, because it's not like a huge city or anything at this point. So in 1689, and people did not like how greedy he was. They did not like him at all. They were not a fan of him at all. They also didn't really trust him. Now, the Puritan villagers believed that him being the leader, the minister, that was work of the devil. So they were like, he has the devil in him. We do not trust him.
That's their excuse.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Every single time.
They like, don't trust anyone. It's so funny.
No, they don't.
So in January of 1692, we're getting closer to the trials, Reverend Parris's daughter, Elizabeth, she's only 9 years old at this time, and his niece, Abigail Williams, she's 11, they started having weird fits. So they would scream, they would throw things, they would make weird sounds. They actually were able to contort themselves into, like, weird positions. And so a local doctor said that it was something supernatural. Okay. And to me, it sounds like a possession, right? Like, what we normally would see as a possession. Like, their bodies, like, they're doing a back bend and walking upside down, whatever. A lot of things. Anyway, they're like, that's a supernatural, so we're doctors. Okay, anyway. So that was happening. Those two were going through it during the same time. And again, only 9 and 11 years old. So it's not like they like had much of a choice at that point. They couldn't really pretend. While that was happening, there was another girl named Ann Putman. And she was also 11. And she was having the same exact episodes. So the girls blamed 3 women for inflicting them. They all knew each other, so they all were able to, like, when they were being interrogated, they were able to mention the same women. The first one was Tituba, which was Parris's Caribbean slave. So they believe that she was a witch, and so they believe that it came from her, because obviously Parris's daughter lives there. The slave lives there as well. Sarah Good, which was a homeless beggar, so they also think that it came from her. And Sarah Osborne, which was an elderly woman. So the 3 blamed women were brought to local magistrates, and Osborne and Good claimed innocence, but Tituba was like, nah, I did it. I'm a witch. It's cool.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, she was like, I'm not going to hide it. And so she said, the devil came to me and bid me serve him. And so she believes that, like, since the devil told her to do this, and since the devil's in her, she's not going to hide it.
Yeah.
Whereas the other, like, the Sarahs are just like, we're not a witch. What are you talking about? But yeah, she was able to, like, basically say that she's guilty right away. Yeah. She didn't really care. And so when they asked Tituba more questions, just like asking her about, like, okay, what is your life like? Like, how are your powers? Whatever. She described how she always sees images of, like, black dogs. She sees red cats, yellow birds, and
red cat. Oh, like Ruby.
I think so.
Oh.
I also was like, red cat. I think. I don't know. I can't imagine, like, more of a red cat than that, but whatever. Orange cat. Yeah, her face. She's really buried into you. That's funny. And then she also said that she also had an image of a black man who wanted her to sign his book, which was like the witch book.
Yeah. Sabrina.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched the new Sabrina?
I watched first couple episodes. I didn't watch all of it.
Dude, it is so dark.
Yeah, I was kind of like, oh my god, this is intense.
Honestly,
I like the show, but
like lighthearted. But now they're like, sign the book. She's like, oh, if I want to sign the book.
That's why I was like, I liked the show, but then I was watching the new one, and I was like, oh my god, this is so intense.
It's way different from Melissa Joan.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So then they were like, but did you sign the book? And she's like, hell yeah, I signed the book, of course. And she said that there were several other witches with her that were looking to destroy Puritans. So she's really just like, I'll tell you the truth, I don't care. And so her response to this and her admitting all of this really started the trials, because they were like, uh-oh, there's a lot of women out there who want to destroy everything. We need to find them.
Why do you think they want to?
I know, it's like, God.
Don't give them a job. They're gonna find other things to do.
Right.
This is what happens.
It'd be like that. So, all three of those women were put to jail, even though the Sarahs were like, we still didn't do anything. What are you talking about? But then Tituba's like, they totally did.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So as they were in jail, there were many more allegations the next few months. So a lot of people started accusing their friends or like their family members or just people they saw on the street.
Yeah.
And even loyal members of the church had accusations for them. The ones who were supposed to be like holy, whatever.
Yeah.
Including one named Martha Corey. She was a witch and she scared everyone. And so they were like, if she can be a witch and she's like a huge member of the church, that means anyone could be a witch. And so this really like gave them a lot of fear. And they're like, who do we trust? Once again, trust issues.
They do. It's like they have like major like daddy issues when it comes to like all
who
of that.
hurt you?
Like, well, most of them, why they went there was because they were being persecuted for being Puritans.
Right.
So, like, the trust I get, but it's just like they took it to a whole new level of just mistrust.
They really did.
But it's like, what do you expect? They're bored. They don't know what to do.
Even when they didn't really have suspicion, they're just like, you did it. You're a witch. And they're like, bruh, I'm just chilling.
And the funny thing is that like the satanic panic that they were having with like the witches and stuff, it honestly, it still hasn't ended. People blame Satan for everything.
I know.
It's like, maybe it's just the person.
Right. Or like when you hear somebody who's like a practiced witch or like a part of that, everyone thinks that they're like possessed or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, or they're just like spiritual in that way. Like,
they're Wicca.
Yeah, leave them alone. Okay, anyway. That's a whole different story.
That is. That's a whole new conversation to have.
Right. So in April, so just like, I don't remember what the last month I talked about was. A few months later, I guess, or a couple months later, the questioning got more serious because the deputy got involved.
Yeah.
His name is Deputy Thomas Danforth. And his assistants and him attended the meetings because they're like, all right, let's see what's happening here. There's a lot of people being accused. Let's see what's going on. During this time, him and his assistants are kind of looking at the town more and like being more careful. Not really more careful, but like trying to choose anyone who could possibly be a witch. So if they're middle-aged, if they're a woman, and then they were like, maybe it could also be a man because they heard of like men who were also having like episodes. Yeah. And so they would bring men in and kind of get that idea started.
Yeah.
And then men were like confessing that they also were witches. So they're like, oh, okay, not just women. Got it.
What is going on?
So they're just bringing everyone. They're like, all right, you. Come on, let's go.
Way to destroy your population.
Right? Like, oh my God. And so many people were being brought in for questioning. I'm going to talk about a few specifically.
Yeah.
There's a whole list. If you search it online, they have every single person who was executed. And like their story, which is really cool. But I only wrote down like 5 because there's 20. And I was like, if I talked about all 20, that'd be a long time. Anyway. Also, my hand was getting tired from writing. So in May 1692, the governor of Massachusetts, his name is William Phips. Yeah, he ordered a special court of order to decide and hear on witchcraft cases from different counties that were surrounding Salem village. The first case was Bridget Bishop, and she was an older woman known for being promiscuous, and she always liked to gossip around town.
Oh, no one likes to gossip.
Yeah, and when she was brought in, she's like, I'm I'm as innocent as an unborn child. I would never. So they were like, she's guilty. So she was found guilty just because of the way she was like, I'm so innocent. I would never do that. Like the way that she like presented herself. She was very like, nobody trusted her. And so June 10th, she was the first person who was hanged on what would later be known as the Gallows Hill in Salem town.
Oh, shit.
First one, and that was in June. Yeah. Right after that, 5 more people were hanged that July, and then 5 in August, and then 8 in September.
Shit.
And then during that time, we had 7 others who were accused witches that died in jail.
I'm very curious to know what was going through their heads to be like, let's just kill all these women, and they get to the point of like, why can't I find a wife?
They're like, wait, is anyone gonna love me? Oh my god, I didn't even think of that. That's funny.
Because they're getting rid of all of these women. Like, yeah, there was men, but like all these women are like being put to death.
And I can't imagine that like people are wanting to move there, so like the town just kind of has to disappear.
Honestly, how Salem survived, I don't get it.
I know. I'm like, wow.
I don't know how.
That is shocking. I'm gonna say just a few of the people who were executed. Mm-hmm. So fun. Most of them were actually like in their 50s, 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
But I'll talk about the youngest one at the end. So the first one that I wrote down was Elizabeth Howe. She was the wife of a father, and she had been accused before. So the person I talked about earlier, the promiscuous one, Bridget, she was accused before as well. Mm-hmm. So this wasn't like the first time that people thought she was kind of crazy. Same story with Elizabeth. Just the way that she presented herself, that they thought she was psychotic. One time, what they think happened is she bewitched a little girl. And so she was arrested right away for that, and then she was killed 10 days later.
Oh, shit.
It went pretty fast. So, like, once you were arrested, you knew that, like, you're gonna get killed pretty quickly. There were a few that survived.
There's no trial.
Right.
It's just for show.
Right.
They're like, we'll have you on trial, but it's like, I'm already found guilty.
Mm-hmm. And some of these people at this point where I'm at right now, some of these people just had dreams. And if you had a dream where you were, like, doing something crazy, that's enough to be a witch.
That's why you don't tell people your dreams.
I know, just don't admit it.
Honestly, these people let themselves.
Yeah. And then there was Susanna Martin. She was 71, and she was just a poor little widow. She also had been accused before because she killed an infant.
What?
And she went around and tormented people.
She probably was just nagging.
I know. She's probably just this cranky old lady, and everyone's like, she's tormenting me.
I'm your elder. Respect me.
Exactly.
They probably got tired of her yelling.
They're like, all right, just kill her. Just get rid of her. Say she's a witch.
Honestly, that's literally what they would do.
Yeah, which is fair.
God, excuses. And then they were like, I bet half of them were like, probably not, but let's just do it.
Right.
Then you have the other half that were like super like, we're just like, yes, it's the devil. Nah.
I know. It's like, oh my God.
And then the others took advantage of that. They're like, these people are so gullible.
I know. It's crazy. But yeah, she was arrested and executed. There was also another woman who was 71. Her name is Rebecca Nurse. She was just an elderly grandmother from Salem. She was very popular, though, because she had like a lot of friends and a lot of people knew of her since she was so old. She lived there her whole life. She had a long-standing feud with a family.
Oh, no. That's it.
They were called the Partridge family. Like, literally. Mm-hmm. I think their name was the Partridge family, which is a show. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, it's either a show or, like, a Christmas song. I don't know. Oh, a partridge in a pear tree. Okay.
I think the Partridge family was, like, a 70s show, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so, too. Yeah.
I don't know.
But, yeah, I'm pretty sure that... No, it wasn't. Their names weren't Partridge. It was Putnam. Okay, never mind. Just
Putnams.
Disregard everything I said.
I remember learning about them.
Yeah, so disregard everything I just said. Okay. So she had a long-standing feud with the Putnam family over border boundaries because they were neighbors, and so she was like, "This is my area," and they were like, "This is our area," and so whenever like anything would get blown to the other side, they'd have a feud.
Dude, have you ever looked at the maps of just territory lands from the East Coast, from the West?
Mm-mm.
It's like a spider web on the East Coast of like the cutting of land.
Oh,
it's so just like, and then on the west, it's just like, bump, bump. Like, just,
yeah.
Sorry, I'm just making noises.
Bump. I know the listeners are like, what?
But on the West Coast, it's mostly just like rectangles and squares and stuff for your plot of land. Mm-hmm. But on the East Coast, it's like they literally call it a spider web of how they split up the land, because that's the more discovery of land in that area. And people who've already had land, they had to cut it in different ways.
That makes sense, yeah. Okay. Oh, I'll have to look at it.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so that was what their feud was over. Mm-hmm. And the family eventually was like, she's crazy. She won't stop yelling at us. She's a witch. So the family accused her. She was at first found not guilty.
Yeah.
Because she was like, well, they just have always had a feud with me. But then the jury reconsidered and gave her a guilty verdict, and she was executed.
Oh.
And I think hers was like 11 years, because at first she was found not guilty, so she was out for a little bit, then she was brought back. And then we had Anne Pudiator, something like that. She was in her 70s. They don't know for sure how old she was. But she was also a widow. Again, if they're a widow, they're instantly there. Yeah. And she was very sharp-tongued. So, like, she was not afraid to speak her mind.
Oh, that does it.
She quarreled with locals, like, was constantly, like, fighting with everyone.
That's just her being old.
I know, that's the thing. I'm like, these people are all cranky. They're all widows. Yeah. Like, they don't have anyone to love them. They don't have anyone to take care of them. Yeah. They're not witches. Like, relax. And even if they are, who cares? I'm just kidding. All right, but anyway, she was convicted, and she was like, you all are liars. I would never fight with anyone. I'm not a witch. I'm awesome.
I'm awesome.
And then she was executed. They're like, just shut her up. She did not last very long in the jail. Anyway, and then I'm going to talk about a male, because of why not? So we had Samuel Wardwell. He was 49. He was a carpenter, and he was a well-known fortune teller. And so he was first arrested in 1692, and then once he was arrested, his daughters and his wife was arrested because they also, like, believed in his fortune telling, etc. He admitted during his trial that fortune telling and dabbling in magic was something he agreed that he would do for the devil. So he was like, I'm not scared. Like, the devil and I have talked about it, and the devil might have taken advantage of me just a little bit for knowing that I like fortune telling and magic, but, like, you know, we're cool. And so he actually confessed to making a pact with the devil. Yeah. But later said that he didn't. So later he was like, no, I never did. What are you talking about? It was too late. Yeah. He was arrested and executed. Yeah. There was also another male who got stoned to death.
He was the last one, wasn't he?
Yeah. And I believe, like, altogether, I think there were, like, 6 males, something like that.
Yeah, because the last, I don't know, are you going to talk about him?
No, I forgot to. Like, I saw the information, and then I was like, oh, I got to write him down later. I never did.
I don't remember his name, but
I don't either.
He was literally the last person to be executed for the witch trials.
Right.
And they would, you mind if I tell the story?
No, go for it.
So, I can't remember his name exactly, but what they did was that they accused him of being a witch. Mm-hmm. And so what they did was place him in the center of town. They put a board on him, and they would keep adding rocks and stones. Yeah. And they would do that throughout the week. They just kept adding more, to the point where it was so heavy on his chest that his eyes popped out.
Oh my God.
And that he pretty much, they stoned him, technically, and then they pretty much just, like, suffocated him, killed him. But before, he said he put a curse on the deputy.
Oh yeah, I remember reading this.
So there is technically a deputy's curse.
Yeah.
For the Salem, like, police department. Mm-hmm. And there's, like, supposedly, like, all of these, like, deputies that have died throughout the years. Yeah. Because it's been, like, the curse.
Yeah, I have heard of that.
So I don't know if it was only for this specific family, though.
Right.
I think it was only for, like, the deputy's family. Or maybe I think it's just, like, every single deputy. But, yeah, he was the last one, and that was a way to go out. Yeah. I would rather be burned than
I know, I'm like, burn me at the stake. Don't stone me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was fascinating. I'm just imagining his eyeballs like rolling down the hill. God, that's horrible.
Yeah, it was not fun.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about the youngest one.
Okay.
And this will be like the last one I touch, and then I'm gonna talk about what happens now. So I'm gonna keep going with the timeline. So Dorothy Good was the youngest, and she was only 4 years old.
Oh my God.
Her mother, basically her dad left her from the beginning. And so her mom was kind of forced to be homeless, and she was a beggar, and couldn't really do much to take care of her daughter. Her mom actually got accused, probably because she's homeless and kind of losing her mind.
Yeah.
And so she was interrogated. Now, her mom wouldn't admit to anything, so they actually brought Dorothy in. And again, she's a 4-year-old girl.
So young.
They questioned her for hours to the point where she was just so tired and hungry that she just lied to them and was like, all right, I'm going to tell you what you want to hear. That was kind of her thought process. And so she said her mom was a witch, and that she was trying to get her to be a witch as well. So because of that, Sarah was taken from her daughter and hanged.
Jeez.
That was her mom, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah.
And so Dorothy was in custody from March to December 1692. Just in jail. And throughout her time in jail, she's freezing. Like, she has nobody to talk to.
Yeah.
And so she became insane. Like, the rest of her life, she was, like, extremely psychotic from that.
Well, yeah.
Right, I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Like, childhood development is the most important.
Right. Like, those are her, like, 4 years old.
That's young.
Oh, God, it's horrible.
And it's traumatizing because they probably made her watch her mother get hanged.
Yeah. So, throughout this time, 19 were hung all together, and then one was crushed to death, which is the one you just talked about. So, yay. I'm going to go back to my other notes. Oh, God. Wrong one. Jeez. There we go. I put a little black line to tell me where to start. There we go. Okay. Now, after we had these 20 people who were executed, standards of evidence were raised in October. So finally they were like, okay, we cannot use dreams, we cannot use visions as a way to think that they are a witch. We have to treat this like we would a normal case or another case. And so the evidence now must be equal to that of any other crime. Yeah. So like they have to have proof at this point. I'm like, it took you that long to realize that you need proof. But whatever. I guess they were just scared.
Go figure.
They're always scared. Anyway, so the governor was like, all right, we're going to dissolve this special order that they had set in place. But so they're going to continue the trials, but they're not just going to question everybody. It's going to be like if they have a reasonable suspicion. And this was, the trials would continue until early 1693. Yes. So by May, Governor Phipps released all those in prison for witch cases. So finally he's like, all right, I'm going to let you guys go. But like, if you do anything, you're coming back. So they were all let go. But at this point, the damage is done, right? Yeah. We have 19 who were hanged on Gallows Hill. We have a 71-year-old man pressed to death. That's how old he was. I was like, jeez. With heavy stones, like we mentioned. People were dying in jail, like, even when they, like, weren't executed. They were just dying. And those numbers weren't even counted. And nearly 200 people had been accused of having the devil's magic.
Oh my God.
Many involved confessed their error and guilt. So finally they were like, oh my God, that was really wrong of us. Like, we shouldn't have just killed people, I guess.
No way.
No, it's like, wow, we forgive you. Totally. And then on January 14th, 1697, so we're talking 4 years later.
Yeah.
They had a day of fasting and soul searching because they realized how messed up it was. 4 years later.
Wow.
You're going to find your soul. Okay, whatever. And then in 1702, so now we're talking 5 years after soul searching, the court declared the trials to be unlawful. Took a long time. And then in 1711...
It just keeps going.
9 years after that, a bill was passed that would allow those who were accused, and granted, they got a lot of money for being accused.
I'd probably purchase some land to get the fuck out of there.
So even if it was like their grandma or whatever, their heirs would get the money. So they're like, I know we like can't bring your grandma back, but like, here you go buy yourself something nice. But then, this is the worst part. Massachusetts as a state did not publicly apologize or like talk about their error until 1957.
Holy shit.
Over 250 years later.
That sounds about right.
I'm like, bruh.
Sounds about right for the U.S.
So, that was the Witch Trials. Now, I'm going to talk about, like, some movies and TV shows that go over it, because it's spooky season, and if y'all want to watch something, do it. So, a playwright named Arthur Miller created The Crucible, which I've seen the play. It's pretty good. And he created it in 1953. He used the trials of the McCarthyism, paranoia in the 1950s.
Yeah.
And this was when they were trying to expose communists, and people who didn't do anything were questioned and arrested. So he took those, that time in the 1950s, and he compared that to the Salem Witch Trials. And the whole show is about, like, how they are the same, which is really fascinating. Because they know the witch trials, like, people were just accused for doing absolutely nothing.
So, yeah, it just repeats itself.
Yeah, so I don't think there's a movie for The Crucible, but I feel like there is. I don't know. I've seen the play. I think there's a book. Well, obviously there's a play, but play book. Anyway, just look it up if you want to. Look it up if you want to see it. All right, anyway. And then there was also The Lords of Salem, which was a movie from 2012.
Oh.
And it sounded really interesting. I was like, I need to watch this. It's about a DJ who starts listening to an album called The Lords and then has bizarre nightmares from there. Oh. And so she's like kind of having these like nightmares that are driving her insane, where she eventually like goes crazy.
Yeah.
And kind of becomes kind of supernatural. Uh-huh. So I was like, I kind of want to watch that, but it's probably really dumb, but I'll watch it anyway. And then there was The Covenant in 2006. I did not write a description, so I guess it wasn't that interesting. But if you want to watch it, go watch it.
That sounds familiar.
It does. It was about 3 boys, or 3 men, whatever. They're trying to uncover, like, their ancestors' witchery or something like that.
Oh.
Look it up. There was the autopsy of Jane Doe in 2016. And when I saw this, when I saw the cover for it, I was like, I feel like I've seen it, but I don't know if I have. But it's about a person being accused of being a witch who now wants revenge. So she comes back and wants revenge.
Oh.
Yeah. Hocus Pocus, obviously.
Of course.
1993. Takes place in Salem. I love watching it, just being like, oh, look at that. Fall. And it's obviously about 3. If you haven't seen Hocus Pocus, you're doing everything wrong.
Oh my god.
Just kidding. But go watch it. 3 sisters are accused of witchcraft after a local girl goes missing, and so we know that they are able to put a spell on a candle, and a virgin has to light it in order for them to come alive. And so then in 1993, the virgin lights the candle, and they are alive again. And I love it. It's just so good. Because they like wake up and they're like, what year are we in? What's going on? It's a good mix of like comedy, but like also a little spook.
Dude,
for kids, I guess.
Sarah Jessica Parker looks so young.
I know, right?
Her at her prime.
I put a spell on you. Okay. Have you ever watched Paranorman?
Yes, I love that movie.
Good.
It's so cute. I love Anna Kendrick.
Yeah, and that one came out in 2012, and it follows a woman being falsely accused and a young boy who can speak to the dead.
Yeah, because
so
the one who's being accused is a little girl.
Yeah.
And, like, the whole time they had no way. They're like, it's just, like, evil. And it's, like,
right.
A little girl who's, like, 9 who's just, like, upset and scared.
I love that movie. It's so good.
It's so good. I recommend it. 10 out of 10.
Yes, for sure. There's also The Witches of Salem, which is it's kind of like a documentary. It's from 2019, and it's a historical dramatization. Yeah. I think I saw it, like, on Hulu or something, but it was, like, 3 hours long. And I was like, I'm not watching that. But maybe I will eventually. But I can't watch things that are like over 2 hours long because I'm just like...
It is a little bit harder to do.
Yeah. There was a TV show on Freeform called Motherland Fort Salem in 2020.
Oh.
No idea. I don't have Freeform. I don't even know what that is. But
that was ABC Family.
Oh.
That's what I know it as.
Okay. I know nothing. And then, of course, there was a horror series... supernatural horror series called Salem in 2014. And I never heard of it, but it starts basically the whole like plot is that it's the first person who like started the trials. So it's like this woman who's like, okay, I'm gonna be a witch and ruin everything. So I'm like, oh, that might be interesting to see.
Oh.
And then American Horror Story Coven. And it teaches young witches how to survive in the modern world. I love it. So good.
Oh, last week we did Roanoke. American Horror Story did a whole season on Roanoke.
Oh my god, I haven't seen that one.
I didn't even mention that.
Now you guys know. Yeah, I was just curious to see, like, because I knew Hocus Pocus, and I was like, I wonder how many, like, TV shows and movies were, like, from Salem.
Yeah.
Like, it's just crazy. Anyway.
It is quite the story.
And there's so many stories. Like I said, I wanted to keep going, but, like, you get to a point where you're just like, I have to stop.
Yeah, my early colonial America class heavily covered not only the Salem Witch Trials, but just other trials that dealt with witchcraft even before the trials, or just like trials in general during that time. And it was so much corruption. Yeah. Because the government was heavily influenced by, they just did their own thing. Because they're saying, oh, it's good of the kingdom, or like good of England. Right. But it's just, they did it for themselves. And it got carried away. Because religion was so heavily impacted for the culture. Right. That they took it to a whole new level that everybody was just like, oh shit, what did we do, like, afterwards? It's wild. Man. But yeah, reading just a lot of those stories, I was just, especially the man who got stone pressed. Yeah. God, I can't remember his name. Oh, I can look it up in like 4 seconds. But his story, because it's not really well known. I feel like there's so many other people that you think of the Salem Witch Trials. You think of like all the witches, but he was the last one to be killed. And not a lot of people recognize it. It's like, it wasn't even a woman, it was a man, because that's how far they were willing to go to let their beliefs be pretty much controlled. Giles Corey. Giles Corey? Yeah. Yeah. He was a farmer. It's really sad to see that, because it was brutal. And then it was just right in town. Yeah. Too. So you had everybody walking. And it was apparently because he refused to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. So he just wasn't speaking. Yeah. Man. So you had like children walking down the street. You had women, men, just watching him just lay there for days. God. Oh, the eyeballs part just like haunts me. Yeah. I can't get over the eyeballs. I'm like, oh my god, just eyeballs popping out. It's terrifying. I loved that part of class, though, of reading about that, because I wasn't really too invested in early colonial America, but there's so much to it. Yeah. It's wild. It's the foundation of the colonization of the United States. It's also crazy to me that, like, witches are still, like, so big. Yeah. With, like, Halloween and, like, being spooky and, like we were talking about, like... I think it's changed a lot, though, to being more cutesy. Right. It's not so much like we're, like, scared of witches coming out of nowhere. And even with Halloween, because Halloween from All Hallows Eve... Yeah. Switched in the 1950s, because it used to be something to be afraid of. Right. But now it's something that we see as just, like, $1 billion corporation for the candy companies. Right. Like, that's... But you know what? We're having fun with it. Children love to dress up. Love it. Yeah. Halloween. Best time of year, like I said. This next week's episodes are going to be... The next 2 weeks' episodes are going to be fun. Yes. Definitely, guys. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for those. Those are going to be, I think, something a little out of my comfort zone of that I never really cover. It would be fun. Yeah. So, get ready. Yes. What did you learn today? I learned, don't accuse somebody of doing something if you literally have no proof. Honestly. Like, if you can't even, like, give them one reason why you're accusing them. Dude, I'm piggybacking on that. Just, like, make sure you know what you're doing before you just kill somebody. Yeah, and they even do that now. Yeah, it's wild. But so. Never changed. Anyway. Where can you find us? You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at History of the Podcast. You can also send us an email, historyofthepodcast@gmail.com. You can send us your thoughts, questions, concerns, stories, requests. Ooh, is your family from Salem? If you're from Salem, you need to tell us right now. Anyway, I can't wait to visit Salem one day. Oh, it's going to be great.
I think, don't they have like a Hocus Pocus tour? I'm pretty sure they do.
I don't know, but I want to go to the Salem Witch Museum.
Oh, yes.
I'm big on museums, and I like creepy museums.
Oh my God, yes. Next year.
Yay!
All right. Well, stay spooky.
Ooh.
Yeah, spicing it up.
Yes.
Pumpkin spice and everything nice.
We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.